Hello, nice to
Hi.
meet you. I'm Tasha.
Nice
How
to
are
meet
you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So I've seen you've been on a bike trip this weekend. How was it?
Yeah. It was. I'm actually like my bike broke on me,
Oh no.
but no, it was good. It was good. I was yeah. I'm trying to learn to like do jumps on my bike. I haven't like jumped mountain bike since I was a kid, so it's something that's quite new to me. But yeah, it's cool. The weather's been a bit better here recently, so we can actually get out and do stuff now rather than just being in the house all the time.
Excellent. That sounds fun. So this is your new COVID hobby, biking.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of. Well, I used to do a lot of skateboarding, but last year I fractured my ankle twice, like in the same year. So it's a bit like I need to do something that's not going to fracture my ankle as much. So I was just one of my friends was like, just get a bike. So
Yeah, just get a bike, do a lot of jumping that will not fracture your ankle.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so on Friday, there's like a big release.
yeah,
Sleep Society. Are you excited?
yeah. Really excited. Yeah, it's been kind of weird. Obviously, I don't want to talk about COVID too much because everybody's sick of hearing about it. But it's been a bit of a roller coaster trying to write this album in this time, and we came straight off an American tour, cut the tour short by not doing Vegas and California, which we were like, oh wow, the best two places we were going to visit. But people's safety was more important, so we cut that short, and we were scheduled to come back and start writing and recording the new record. So really, we can't really complain. We've been quite lucky. I think that I've spoken to a few bands that have, had it quite tough in terms of releasing records and, you're not being able to go out and tour it. But, like I say, everybody's safety is more important. So, yeah, it's been cool. It's coming in and out of lockdown in the UK and trying to be in a studio environment's been quite difficult. But we have our own unit in Sheffield in the UK, so that's allowed us to kind of work around the restrictions a little bit, and we've got enough space there where we're not kind of on top of each other. We can still get stuff done. So it's been really cool. We're really stoked for everyone to hear, the rest of what we've been working on. Just it's been good to have a record to focus our positive energy on during this time, and not just sort of, if we'd have written it pre-pandemic and just sort of sat around going like, I think I'd have lost my mind. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good, really.
How do you think fans will receive the album, or how will they react? What do you think? What's going to happen?
I think they're going to absolutely love it.
I think so too.
I like this. I hope they do. I think I say this a lot, but like I think writing an album is like doing a painting. Like the door's closed and you're kind of doing a painting, and then you kind of open the door and show everyone, and it's quite scary sometimes thinking about that reaction and how people are going to perceive it. And you've worked so hard on something, you want it to be received well. And I think that's the case no matter what it is. But yeah, I think our fans are going to love it. I think that if you're not a genre snob, like if you're open to different genres and like whether that's rock or metal or punk rock or pop punk, I think there's something in our record for everybody, sort of genre wise. And I think if you're open-minded in terms of genre, then there should be something in our record for you. We're really proud of it. I think that over the years recording records, we've been through so many different struggles, and I think that previously in the past we've talked quite sort of politically, if you like, and about things that we've experienced, whereas more of the lyrical content and the writing in this record is kind of one that's kind of come more from within, about sort of trying to find more balance and be more at one with yourself, if you like. And I think that's something that over the last few years individually we've all been through. So I think it'll be interesting. Like I say, there's a lot of different styles within this record, and I think our fan base always respond really well to everything that we sort of give them, whether that's like, like a change in circumstances, or even with the first sort of single from this record, we tried to set out to sort of outline some of the things that we were thought were a bit fucked up with the industry, that like needed attention and needed changing. And again, like our fan base responded so positively to that. So they're amazing. And I think album to album with the fan base that we have, we're growing in confidence to be more sort of what's the word, progressive, if you like, and more free with sort of how we go about things. And that lets us sort of experiment in the studio a little bit and like open up in terms of like not being worried about sort of too much of a stigma about like what we're supposed to sound like, and just be a bit more free with just creating, I guess. So yeah, I think our fans are gonna love it.
So you sound like there are lots of different genres, and you've been quite political. What was your biggest inspiration for this particular album?
I think for me personally, it's been about finding balance. You know, I've struggled quite heavily with like alcoholism over the years, and like not knowing when to call it quits, and sort of masking, I don't know, some like underlying difficulties that I might have with the sort of being the front man of a band, if you like, and the responsibility that goes with that, and also having problems with my voice. I think that I've sort of hidden behind alcohol quite a lot, and so I'm really trying now. Like, I don't really drink anymore, and yeah, it's kind of about like trying to restore that balance and figuring out like what's going on sort of with me. And I feel like every individual member at some stage over the last few years has gone through that for themselves. With Sean, it was a lot of I think he had like a lot of, I think he describes it as anxiety. I don't know exactly what like that label is for Sean, but we've all been through stuff, and I think that this record sort of highlights that, and we just want to lend the messages or lend the things that we've learned to try and talk about them, to sort of give that to our fan base, if you like, in a lyrical way, especially with connotations like enlightenment and you are all you need. You know, it's about like not looking to other people for like to tell you you're doing the right things, or like relying on other people, you know, like for example, like it's so easy to sort of wake up the first thing in the morning looking at Instagram, and that being the last thing you see before you go to bed. And it's, you know, it's not a way to be sort of, what's the word, living, but like it's not a way to judge like your own success and what's going on with you. Yeah. And I think, you know, social media can be quite poisonous in that way. But yeah, for me, it's all been about restoring some balance and trying to figure out like where my head's at, and sort of ditching the alcohol and being more confident with just like who I am and trying to figure things out. I think, you know, some of the messages that run through the record definitely have that attached to it. And and whatever it's done for the other band members, I think our fan base can hear that in the lyrics, and hopefully it speaks to a lot of people.
That's interesting, because my next question was going to be, what's the most important message you want to convey with Sleep Society? Yeah,
I guess separately to sort of the individual songs, the thing that stands out to me most about this whole record is how important it is to be unified with people, and how important it is to sort of be able to open up and talk to people about whatever it is you want to talk about. The Sleep Society that we've sort of created, that runs alongside this campaign as a new way to sustain the band, is really proving to be such an awesome sense of community. I think that when I was we call them, I don't know what you guys call them, but we call them moshers. When I was a young, or like sweaties, but when I was a young kid, sat on the back of the school bus, you know, listening to sort of Limp Bizkit and Slipknot and, you know, Marilyn Manson and all these bands, like I remember getting like punched and like spat at for liking like this style of music. And it was like, yeah, all that did for me was like solidify that I just felt differently to a lot of people, and it gave me that really strong sense of community. So when you saw someone else wearing like the same hoodie or like into the same bands, you were just like, fuck yeah, dude, like that's what
connection.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we're creating with the Sleep Society. You know, people have a place where they can come and appreciate while she sleeps, help us sustain the career. And it, you know, it means that we don't have to lean on like management and booking agents and all these people that are sort of dipping into the honeypot, if you like. It's cool that our fan base can like directly support us, and then in return we can be so on it with them, and like interactive, and they can like, you know, all that extra stuff that goes with the society. So I think like, yeah, the sense of community is a really important one for me, and always has been within this industry. It's what it's what made me fall in love with this like genre or this industry, if you like, and it's one that sort of still drives us to be pushing it now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true, especially like for the past 1.5 years now. You've been kind of, well, the whole world is isolated, but in this isolation, I feel that we kind of learn to reach out and to communicate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's crucially important as well. Like, you know, like we have this thing in the UK where you walk past somebody and you kind of say, all right, and then they kind of say, all right, and then, you know, that's a question, but no one's actually speaking about it. It's just a way that you're like interacting, but it means nothing. So I think that, like you say, it's so important. The connection with other people is so important. And like, I think, especially with songs like Nervous from this new record and how we're speaking openly about sort of our experiences with mental well-being and health. And we're trying to break down the stigmas with that and sort of get people talking, if you like. And it's already proven to be so important. But yeah, like I say, yeah, you're right with that. Like, I think people are trying to stay connected now, and it's really important.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Like, even though this little all right, it's really sweet, because in German, like we Germans were like, oh, shit, please don't talk to me. Oh, like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
really different. But speaking of connections, you have some features on the album. How did these features come about? Like, have you been in contact before, or was it like, hey, want to hop on the album? How was it?
Kind of a bit of both. There was a bit of like, yo, you up for singing on our record? But the Nervous one, Simon Neil, the guest on that, we heard a few years back from Touren, this a lighting guy that we knew that also toured with Biffy Clyro, just kind of said, oh, you know that the guy's really into your band. And at the time we were kind of young rockers, so we're just like, no. I had no idea, and that was just like, so yeah, that was really nice to hear. And then fast forward a few years, you know, now we had the demo for Nervous, and we were like, imagine if Simon sung on this song, how much of a good collab it'd be. And yeah, just sort of went from there. Just got an email and just sent him the email. He came back and he was just like so stoked that we'd reached out to him. And yeah, just sort of said he was well up for getting involved. And I think like he was so good to work with, had such a positive mental attitude and energy. And yeah, so everything we basically gave him the song and said, this is the structure, but you kind of feel free, do what you want, like have a go with it. And he ad-libbed between like the skeleton of the song that we already had, and it sounded so good. We pretty much kept everything in there. So yeah, it was great to work with him. Yeah, such a great dude and a great band. So yeah, we feel very privileged to have worked with Simon Neil on that song.
Is there still anyone else on this world you would love to collab with? Like, still like little dream which might become true one day if you had the chance?
For all the members of While She Sleep, I think if we like collabed with Thrice, it'd be amazing. Do you know Thrice?
I know them, yeah.
We love Thrice. Like, even from the early stuff that's a bit heavier, even now to them like kind of writing more anthemic kind of chill stuff, we're just all huge Thrice fans. So if Justin guested on a record, that'd be sweet.
Maybe he will see this interview and be like, oh, I need to contact him right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you think, or well, not do you think, but how will COVID change the music industry?
You know, I think it's so easy to think that it'll have a negative effect. And obviously, currently, you know, it feels like it's had a hugely negative effect. And then even when COVID-19 sorts itself out and we figure it out and find how to work through that, then, you know, we've got to work through Brexit, you know, which is insane for a UK band or vice versa for a European band coming to the UK. Hopefully there'll be something that happens there, which means it can be a bit easier for bands touring. You know, coming over to Europe for our point of view as young musicians was such an amazing thing, being able to travel to so many countries quite freely. And I feel like it's crucially important for any up and coming artists to be able to experience that in order to grow as musicians, especially touring artists. It's always the genres like punk rock and metal, hardcore, whatever you want to call it. They're the bands that really churn it out in terms of touring. And it's such a big part of, you know, of a band's like career. So it'd be a real shame if that had to stop or it was made really difficult. And at the moment, it's a bit like we don't really know which way it's going to go. However, if we can get COVID-19 and Brexit figured out, then I think that it could have a positive effect on the music industry in the long run, because I feel like people are, you know, if you go and tour in Asia, they have so much sort of, the word's not respect, but they're so excited to see bands from like America and England and like Canada and Australia going to tour in sort of Asian countries, because they don't get it that often. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, you know, sort of we're so used to seeing so many bands that it probably came a point in time where you're like, oh, you know, a band's coming through my town, but you know, I kind of seen enough bands already this year or whatever, and you wouldn't like make the effort, just because we get spoiled for how much we can actually go and see and do. I feel like being stripped of that a little bit, especially somewhere like Germany, where it's like the shows there are so fucking good. I feel like hopefully that it'll have the reverse effect, where people are just so starving to go to shows that they're just like so eager to get back to it. So I think that the enthusiasm for shows, when they finally come back to some sort of normality, could actually do a really positive thing in terms of taking it for granted a little bit. So yeah, hopefully that's what happens, and then we see shows be more crazy than they ever have been.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, I couldn't agree more on this one. Do you think you still have the chance to perform your record live this year at any point, or in any kind of method?
I mean, currently in the UK, there's talks of Slam Dunk Festival happening.
Really?
And that's in September.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I see that happening. We've got a small tour booked in September as well that we've just moved back, from May, I think. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. I think, you know, it's really difficult to know. I'm not really not holding my breath for shows to come back anytime soon. I guess we just have to see how well the vaccinations work against, you know, slowing it down. To be honest, I think that the UK is actually in quite a positive position at the moment, where we are seeing the vaccinations balance out against, you know, the number of people being admitted to hospital. But we'll see. I don't want to get too excited for live shows coming back and then be disappointed when they don't happen. So yeah, I'm definitely like, we'll see.
Fingers crossed. So tell me, Loz, how was the recording for Sleep Society, and what were the differences between previous records?
It's so hard not to talk about COVID-19.
It's so hard. It's like it's really bumming me out, because like you kind of want to avoid this like thing that's always there, but you can't escape it.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, definitely a roller coaster in terms of the recording process. Like I mentioned earlier, being in and out of lockdowns. At one time, being able to have like a few people in the studio working on the songs, and like fast forward like 2 weeks later and nobody can be around. So the government guidelines have been like all over the place. So that was really tough. But usually, you know, we'd be trying to write stuff, and we'd also be touring at the same time, or we'd come home to record, and we'd do like a week in the studio, and then we'd leave to come and play like a festival in you know, mainland Europe or something. So in a way, at least it's been that we've been kind of in one place during this record, not having to juggle too many things. I mean, we're a very sort of, we have a very punk rock ethic to the way that we operate our band, which means that we're self-managed now as well. So it means that we're all like crazy busy all the time, you know, which is a good thing. But yeah, usually we'd be out touring as well as trying to write and record a record. So at least we've been able to be at home, and although there's a lot going on, we've been able to focus on that. So that's been really cool. Just to be a bit more in one place. But yeah, the difficulties of being in lockdowns and not being in lockdowns, you know, it's kind of 50-50, you know, there's pros and cons to this whole thing. But yeah, we're the kind of band that just gets it done anyway, you know, like, it doesn't really matter what the situation is. We'll make it happen. We're really proud of what we've created, and yeah, I hope our fans really love it.
Yeah, so it wasn't like working remote from home 24/7. At least you got to like meet each other and be with each other physically in a room.
Yeah, I mean, there were times like weeks on end where I didn't go into the recording studio and stuff, and kind of, if we were doing drums, for example, I just let the guys go and record the drums and like just check in at the end of the day, being like, how's it gone? And just the guys were sending a few videos around. But yeah, it's not been too dissimilar to how it's been going. I'm speaking to a few people in different bands. I spoke to Ben from Neck Deep. They released a record sort of in the first lockdown, and he was saying like how frustrating it's been for him to like put out a record and not being able to go and tour it at all. So like I say, like the schedule of the whole thing has kind of fallen into place for us, which is crazy. But up until this point, it's all been sort of scheduled to, which means it hasn't been too crazy for us, which is awesome.
On a scale from 1 to 20, how much do you miss the stage?
19.
19? I thought you would say 50 or something.
Well, that's what you'd think I'd say, so I just went for a slightly lower number anyway. Yeah, I miss it a lot. You know, I think for me, it's being on stage is kind of like my workout. It's the way that I get rid of negative energy. You know, I get to like shout my head off and like be in the crowd with people and run around on the stage. And yeah, so like we're missing it so much, but then at the same time, like it's the most we've ever been at home. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of downtime as well. I'm not saying I'd rather be kind of not touring at all, but yeah, it's kind of nice to feel like we're not on a bus on wheels for a little while, you know. But it's definitely like my brother. He's a tour manager. He tours with bands like Don Broco and Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. He was thinking about like stepping away from touring, and he just kind of felt like he'd had enough of the lifestyle. And at the time, I remember being like, "How can you have had enough of the lifestyle? It's like it's so cool to be able to tour the world with your friends and like see amazing countries and play shows." And he just kind of feeling like he'd had enough of it. And I feel like having this time away from that now, we were having a conversation about how much we would appreciate being able to get back out there and tour. So I think it's completely changed his mindset. I think now he's like fully back into the touring lifestyle and can't wait to get back to it. So I think it's definitely reiterated how much like we like being out there on the road and how much we love touring and what it means to us as individuals. Like I say, it's my chance to get rid of negative energy and like get my workout in. So yeah, I'm missing it a lot.
Yeah, I believe like must be, I don't know, like I've been at home for a year now in the home office, not with any colleagues, just really at home.
Oh.
For me as an introvert, it's fine. But I really miss like going to shows and like interact with people and music and the energy.
Yeah.
Really
there's no real feeling like a live show.
No.
Like yeah, it's crazy. There's no way you can feel that like electricity and that like just the atmosphere in an indoor venue.
No. The only thing you can do like kind of to sort of ease the pain is like throw on some music and dance around the house.
Yeah.
So what have you been listening to lately?
Wow. I think the latest record that I've got hold of that I was like, this is wicked, was a Teenage Wrist. They've got a new record out called The Earth is a Black Hole. And it's kind of like, do you know bands like Turnover and Basement?
Yes. It's
kind of like that style. It's a bit like, it's kind of like a rock vibe. But their record Earth is a Black Hole is really amazing. What else have I been listening to? I just heard a track by a band called Dayseeker.
Mm-hmm.
The band's called Burial Plot, and it came up on my suggested YouTube videos, and it was like a live video. And I was like, there's no way that dude sounds like that. And I was so jealous. I was like, how can he sing like that? And like, I've watched some videos of the band and he does sound that great. And I was like, fuck. Making my job really hard. But yeah, that's kind of it in terms of like new releases, like anything like really new. I kind of, I always go backwards rather than check out new. I'm always looking for new bands, but I think it's just easy to fall back into the the trap of going back into songs that you already know and stuff, rather than figuring out new bands. I came across a band called Kingdom of Giants that I thought were quite cool. They're like a bit like the metalcore band, but they're a bit like North Lane. They've got like a North Lane vibe. North Lane's new single's amazing. I've been focusing on I've just released my own podcast, because who hasn't in lockdown? So I just thought, fuck it. But I had this idea ages ago to do a throat podcast that was just about talking to different frontmen and women about their experiences with voices. For anybody out there who knows While She Sleeps and me knows that I've been through like loads of surgeries and coughing up blood on stage and like all that shit before. So so I've like been looking at that, and I launched the first episode last week with Drew from Stray from the Path. So yeah, that's out there now for anyone interested in getting frontmen and women's insight into vocals and if they've struggled like I have, or so that's been something that I've been doing as well. So
yeah, cool. That's really interesting. I feel like either everyone's doing like on the podcast game or on the Twitch gaming game. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah, I kind of like that. This was the thing with like, I just didn't want to fall into that trap of being like everybody else and being like, yo, I've done a podcast. But I've had it like, it's been in my sort of, I've been wanting to do a show of some sort for years where I talk to other people about vocals. Obviously, like I said, with my experience has been quite difficult. And I wanted to do like a YouTube thing where it's like actually filmed and everything. But I just thought, one of my friends who lives sort of not too far from here, he works at a radio station in Sheffield, a pretty big one. And we just I asked him if he wanted to get involved, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we just cracked on with it. Yeah. So they're coming out now. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice. I'm need to download the first episode and give it a listen. So yeah, no, look at it. So coming to an end to this interview, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Which is, what do you wish for in 2021?
That's a weird one to answer, really. I wish for getting back to some sort of normality, But I think, yeah, it's a crazy time, and I think it just reiterates to everyone how like fucked up this world can actually be at times, which is quite crazy. And I'm like, we've lost a lot of people to a pandemic. So I just guess before I start thinking about any shows or anything like that, I just want people, people to be safe. I think before we get shows back or anything, we need to control this pandemic. So for 2021, I wish that we get a hold on this pandemic and stop people dying, basically. Get the violins out. But,
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be okay to think about myself and the bands that are in our situation and being like, what I want is to get bands back. But I think more importantly, we need to figure out COVID-19 and work it out.
So thank you very much, Lars, for this lovely interview. It was
no worries. Thanks
with you.
Yeah, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
For your time, and I have a nice evening, and I bet another 5 fun interviews to do still.
Yeah, somewhere around that number.
Ja.
Hallo zusammen, danke fürs Einschalten. Ich hoffe, das Video hat euch gefallen. Wenn dem so ist, dann lasst uns gerne einen Daumen nach oben da, damit wir das auch sehen und eure Liebe spüren. Und wenn ihr unterwegs seid in die Kommentarbox, dann kommt ihr an dem Abonnier-Button vorbei. Den dürft ihr gerne einmal drücken, plus auch die Glocke läuten, dann verpasst ihr nämlich nichts mehr. Und wenn ihr nicht genug bekommen könnt, hier sind die letzten 2 Videos, die könnt ihr euch gerne anschauen. Und ich würde sagen, bis zum nächsten Mal. Passt auf euch auf, macht's gut.